I'm Daniel.
And I'm Jillian.
And we'll be getting married July 26, 2020.
So we're both senior nursing majors at Oral Roberts University. Well, actually, we just graduated, but we both were in the nursing program at the same time. But it's really interesting because we're both really social people, and we both had the same friends, but we didn't really get to know each other until junior year when we were put in the same clinical group. And so we were put in the same clinical group, and we started carpooling with all of our friends. There was an opportunity the second semester of junior year to go on this medical missions trip to Ghana. And during that trip, we kind of got to know each other. It wasn't anything super serious, but we just kind of talked and became friends. Because when we got back from Ghana, my parents and my family were there picking me up with little signs saying welcome home. And my dad, he's super social. He saw Daniel's backpack and he was like, that's a really cool backpack. Where'd you get that? And they started talking about it, and he's like, March 2021 or something like that, I want to hike the Appalachian Trails. And Dan's like, oh, I would love to do that. He's like, you should come with me. And they made these plans to start going hiking together and hike the Appalachian Trails for 5 months together. And they met for 5 minutes. And honestly, after that, we didn't talk for several weeks.
Spring break came around, and I had been talking to her dad on Facebook Messenger because, like she said, after we had met in the airport, we decided we should go hiking together. So we went hiking. And Jillian went to Mexico, and Jill and I kind of texted a little bit during that time.
Then afterwards, I was kind of like, how'd the trip go? And then once I said how the trip went, we started talking after that, and then we started hanging out.
We went to Walmart one day, I think it was a couple weeks after spring break, and I told her, Jillian, I've been praying about this for several weeks. And I told her that I liked her, and she took a long time, and I was super nervous. I was like, just so you know, this is just so we're on the same page. You don't have to like me back or anything, but just letting you know that I like you.
And I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't look at him the whole time, and I was like, okay, well, I have a lot of things to say, but I'm not really sure right now. I need some time to collect my thoughts. So I sat there for about 5 minutes collecting my thoughts.
She was kind of freaked out, I think. She seemed like.
And then I was like, let's just wait it out. Let's just keep on doing what we're doing. I need to pray about it for a while. We ended up going to a symphony together, and during one of the songs, I went over and whispered in his ear and told him I had feelings for him too.
And I was like,
I said a little better than that.
She's like, psst. I was like, what? And she said, I have feelings for you too. I was like, oh. And I did not know what to say for a long time. I was like, okay. What did I like about Jen? So the first thing that stood out to me was her heart for people and for missions, and especially her love for God. I hadn't really seen very many people in my life, if anybody, that had, just worshiped God and just loved God so much. And that was such a big thing that stood out to me with her. Not to mention she's gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. I talk to my mom all the time, almost every day, and she's talking to me about my new clinical group. And she's like, tell me about each of them. And then I was like, there's this guy named Daniel. And I was like, it's interesting, Mom, because I really like Daniel's personality. I was like, I never want to marry him, but I think I need to marry someone like him. Not him, but I need to marry someone like him. And she's like, oh, that's interesting. One of the first things that I noticed about him when I was telling my mom about him just at this time is he's one of the most generous people I've ever met in my life. He's just so generous. He just gives and gives and gives, and he's always there to serve people. One time at the end of clinical, we have to buy snacks for our nurses that helped us with clinicals and everything like that. And we always bring something. We plan to bring Starbucks coffee, and then he didn't know, but somebody else was planning on bringing donuts. So he went to go get the Starbucks coffee because he said, I just feel like we need to get more than just coffee. And he ended up buying $200 worth of scones for these nurses. And he came, we're like, Daniel, and he's just like, I just feel like they really deserved it. These nurses were really kind to us and all that stuff. I was like, oh my goodness. And that just is such a reflection of just how he wants to give to everyone. Doesn't just want to give, he wants to go above and beyond in his generosity to others. And
speaking of, in Ghana, I remember sitting on one couch, she's on the other couch. I was just looking at her, she was talking. I was like, your husband's gonna be a really lucky guy someday. You know that?
It's really sweet.
And I still agree with that. I think one of my favorite parts about her personality is how goofy she can be. And one thing that actually started rubbing off on me was how relaxed she can be. So when she relaxes. It's like nothing else in the world. She doesn't have to be stressed about anything. She just chills. So she'll even, I'll see that with her family. She'll just go watch shows, all day, or sleep all day or something like that. And I've always been super stressy, oh, I gotta get this done. Always been busy, 5 hours of sleep every night, during the school year and during the summer kind of thing. But when I met her, I just started really, okay, I can relax, and this is kind of nice actually. I like that. And just her being goofy just helps me, I can be myself around her.
So I always said how generous he is and everything like that. But one of my favorite things that I love about him is he's so willing and open to growth, and he always pursues growth. And I think and he's like has such like a teachable spirit too. And I feel like that's a lot of times what hinders people is like their pride and being like, no, I'm okay. And like if anybody like corrects him or anything, they have like this pride, like, and I think he's great. I don't think he needs to change or anything, but like he always is pursuing growth, and he has such a heart to grow. And like if people do correct him, like he has such a humble spirit. And that's one of the things that's so inspiring, because I feel like a lot of times I can even get into a place where I'm like, no, don't tell me how to live my life, you know, But he has just such like pure willingness to grow, and then like hunger for growth, and pursues it actively. And it just inspires me to pursue growth even more, even deeper.
I think the first moment when I realized I was going to marry her was when we both started realizing our hearts for missions and wanted to build clinics, and just in general what we wanted to do with our lives. Basically just be missionaries to other countries. We didn't realize that in Ghana. We realized that probably a few months afterwards, and I was like, oh, you want to do that too? I don't remember you mentioning that, which you probably did mention. I just didn't notice it at the time. And I just remember telling my roommate, bro, this is the girl I'm going to marry, for sure.
This last spring semester, I took a month missions trip to Mexico with the nursing department, medical missions trip, and I just really was like, God, I need this time to be a time of clarity for me with Daniel. I found that everywhere that I'm at, my heart is completely there. So like when I went to India for a month, my freshman year, my heart was completely there, and I felt like I could stay there for the rest of my life, and I didn't miss anything else. But when I'm with my family, I was like, oh, I never want to leave my family. I feel like I could stay here for the rest of my life. When I went to Ghana, I was like, oh my goodness, I love it here at Ghana. I feel like I could stay here for the rest of my life. When I'm at ORU with my friends, I'm like, oh, I could feel like I can stay here for the rest of my life. But I found this time in Mexico, and it was so weird. It's the first time my whole life I was there, and I was feeling this sense of just like longing just to be home. And I was like, I loved being here. It was such a good trip, and like the people that I met were beautiful, some of the most beautiful people I've ever met in my life. But there was this sense of like not feeling like at home, like I felt every other place that I've been to in my life. God really gave me this moment, was like, the reason why you're not feeling like your heart is completely here is because such a big piece of your heart is somewhere else, which is Daniel, you know. And that was the real moment where I was like, I don't want to live my life without him. And God was like, then don't. And I was like, okay.
The ring came in, I'd ordered it, and it was perfect. And so I started planning everything after she gave me her letter saying that she was ready to marry me. So I started talking to her mom and her sister. I was like, man, I don't know what to do with this. Like, I had several ideas. So I learned that she really likes scavenger hunts, because they did one for me the first year we went to Ghana together. Her and several of our friends did a scavenger hunt for my birthday. So I was like, okay, she really likes scavenger hunts. She's done this for multiple of her friends.
He's going to celebrate my birthday, because my birthday was the week before, and he's like, well, I want you to come down to Tulsa and celebrate it then. So I was like, okay, I'll come down. Then we went shooting at the shooting range the morning with his dad and him and me. But then he's like, okay, get ready for our date together. And I was like, okay. So I went and I got all ready and I dressed up, and he came and he made me this beautiful little flower crown out of baby's breath. And I was like, and I just love flower crowns and everything. He made me that. I was like, oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet. He's like, okay, let's go. And so we started driving, and he's like, actually, it's gonna be a scavenger hunt. And I was like, oh, how fun.
The first location's at ORU, and I had these like little riddles for her to solve. That's where I told her I liked her. So there's this bench out there that we really like. So there, and then we ended up going to IHOP because we studied countless nights at IHOP overnight for our nursing finals.
And he bought me pancakes, and we got free hot chocolates because it was like my birthday, whatever.
The third location was the place that she told me she liked me at, the Tulsa Performing Arts Center.
After that one, we went to Woodward Park, I think, and this is where we're at now. And this is the place where we had our first kiss, and where he told me he loved me for the first time, and I told it back to him. And so we've had like a lot of special moments here. This is where we would used to go and just take walks and like watch stars and just everything like that. He's like, okay, that's the end of it. And then we started walking up to head to our car, and sitting on the bench, he's like, do you recognize those people? And I looked, and it was my best friend in the whole world that I met at ORU, and it was her and her sister. And when I saw her, I didn't realize how much I missed her, because she doesn't go to ORU anymore. She left my sophomore year. I started crying, and so it's just so perfect. I just started crying. She started crying. She had flowers for me. It was from Daniel, but she was holding them. We both just started crying. I was like, yeah, thank you so much. And so then I thought that was the end of it.
And she thinks, oh, that was so sweet, you know, like that was the best surprise ever, you know, that we got to do that. And so we're just walking around the park a little bit with her friend. We come up to the Rose Pavilion, and that's where I had the cello player set up, and my younger sister as the camera person.
And there's this guy playing cello, and he had a little hat out for money, and he was just doing it. And Daniel was like, here, let's dance. And so we started dancing, and then he's like, do you guys have any song requests? And Daniel recommended one song. That's what we danced to. And then Daniel was like, what about that Sleeping at Last song?
And she's like, do you know Turning Pages? I was like, perfect. And so he's like, hold on, let me think. He's like, yeah, I actually do know that song. He's like a great actor. So he plays the song and Jillian and I dance, and at that time I was telling you like, hey, I really appreciate you, and I really care about you, and I would love to spend the rest of my life with you.
And then it ended, and Daniel went into the hat that he had money, and that's where he put the ring. And then he turned around and he's like, Jillian, and he said a bunch of sweet things to me while we were dancing. And he's like, all the things that I said to you are things that came from my heart, something like that. And he's like, and they all led me to the reason why I know I want to spend the rest of my life with you. And he's like, will you be my wife? And he got down on one knee. And then we hugged for a long time, and I was like, yes. And then we turned around, and then a bunch of my other friends were there. And so yeah, it was really sweet and really perfect.
Just getting to do everything together is going to be super fun. Like, we'll both be nurses here at St. John. We're planning on having the same shifts at the hospital.
One of my things that I'm most excited about for us getting married, though, is we're planning on buying this 1984 Excella Airstream and like completely just stripping it and renovating it. And then after 2 years becoming travel nurses in it. Honestly, he's the first boyfriend I've ever had, the first relationship I've ever had in my whole life. And it was like the first time that I ever just felt complete peace about someone. And so I just know that this is the man that God wants me to be with. And so it's something that's exciting, and I know that God's gonna do more through together than he could have ever done separately, and that just really excites me. And I'm so blessed that God did bring him into my life and did give me peace, and that he is the man to do it.
I'd never really thought I would find someone as perfect for me as her. I think that every day still. It's like, wow, I don't think I would have ever met a woman so patient, so kind, so loving, so understanding, so like realistic about our relationship and about just real life in general. And I just really have always appreciated that about her. And wow, that's all it is. Just wow, I can't believe it. This is crazy.
He's my greatest and most beautiful, unexpected surprise of my whole life, and so I just feel super blessed and super excited for why God put us together.